Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Andrew Warren, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about a stock that is actually not in my portfolio, but it is one that I have on my watch list, and I'm always checking it out just to see the movements that it's making, and also just keeping up with the news releases on it in terms of like if they're beating expectations for recent quarters and things like that. And it's one of those stocks that if I were to buy a fourth stock, yes, I know I have 5 stocks in my portfolio, but these 2 are free. So I only own 3 main stocks that I've purchased with my own money. And if you're new, the reason that I do that is just because I prefer concentration over diversification. At least for right now, I'm trying to grow my portfolio significantly compared to just gradually growing it with diversification. And I'm fairly confident in all 3 of these companies as well. But if I were to add on another stock to my portfolio, a fourth stock to this portfolio that I have right here with my own money, then it would probably be either Amazon, AMD, Shopify, maybe Nvidia. Some of those in that group are definitely some options for my fourth pick, but one of the ones that I would really consider right off the bat, is probably the first one to consider would be Amazon stock. So let's go ahead and check that one out just out of pure curiosity. We had a great growth day on Friday for Amazon. I say we like I own this stock, but I don't own it, but I treat it like I do because it's one of those that I consider adding to my portfolio a lot, but then again, I'm just like, that just makes it a little bit harder for my portfolio to grow if this one just goes in like a downturn for a while, or even if it just stays flat or plateaus a little bit like it did from like August 31st, 2018 to like April 10th, 2020. So I have to admit, this is definitely one of those stocks that I would consider adding to the portfolio later on in life. But I guess a huge issue with that would be the fact that I've already seen a lot of the growth happen out of this stock. And I also don't want to be one of those people buying on a trend like on September 28th, right before a big drop, and then it takes like 2 years to recover just to get back to that previous peak. So I definitely want to avoid making that mistake, and I can't help but think about whether buying right now or buying sometime in the future, like in the next month or so, would be similar to buying back in 2018 on September 28th, right before a long time frame before it eventually recovers to that point. So I have to admit, Amazon is one of those stocks and companies that I love. I think there is still so much potential to come out of this one. And yes, I have heard many people state that Amazon has already used up most of its growth, but I would have to disagree with that because I think Amazon is definitely likely to be willing to enter other business sectors other than just e-commerce, streaming services, and other digital platforms and services. So yes, Amazon does offer that e-commerce section. They also offer digital content like streaming services, and also Amazon Prime shipping, which is fast shipping, which factors into those streaming services. But I really think there's still a ton of potential for this company in the future because I just don't think it's over in terms of them growing. I think they'll honestly enter into some other business sectors that you may not expect in the future. And for example, we even have like right now where I believe Amazon has bought out Zoox, which is an electric vehicle company that is also focused on full self-driving, I believe. And I think that Amazon also either owns Waymo or owns a part of Waymo, or is at least partnered up with him. And that's another asset for Amazon. And if you're curious, Waymo is kind of similar to Zoox. It focuses on full self-driving technology where they have vehicles drive around with cameras on them to record things, and then also LiDAR, I believe. Keep in mind though that Elon Musk has said that LiDAR is a lost cause. So that is a little bit of a concern in terms of where they are at in the full self-driving sector of electric vehicles. But basically what my point is here is that Amazon is willing to enter in some uncharted territory for this company. We are talking about territory and sectors of the economy that you wouldn't really expect a big company like Amazon to enter into. Even though we realize that Amazon still wants to continue growing and making money, it's common things like this with Amazon getting involved in the full self-driving car sector and many other aspects. I think Amazon is going to surprise us in the future. I mean, we may even see something similar to Amazon like we see with Spotify, where they're starting to add podcasts. We had the big Joe Rogan partnership with Spotify, and it seems like Spotify is going to be a little bit more similar to YouTube in the future, at least when it comes to podcasts. I believe they're going to be offering video streaming with the podcast for the Joe Rogan podcast on Spotify. So now Spotify is adding in video content as well when it's mainly been just music and audio podcasts so far. So there is the potential for Amazon to go kind of down that route with Spotify. And for all I know, maybe they have some small aspect of that already. but they could amplify it even more and build that business even farther, focusing on not just music. Yes, I know there's Amazon Prime Unlimited and things like that. It's not as popular as Spotify and Apple Music, but I still think that Amazon has the potential to enter in some of those other business sectors, like with what Spotify is doing right now with video podcasts. So there's a lot of potential, especially for digital content, whether it's building their streaming service even more, like with how they're coming up with a Lord of the Rings series right now that's supposed to be absolutely huge. They have supposedly put a ton of money into that TV show, upcoming sometime soon. I don't know when it's due, but sometime in the future. I remember them in talks about that in the past. But I could see them going down the route as well with like how Netflix is doing, where they could start adding much more original content. Yes, we know there's already original content on Amazon Prime Video, but it's not really in that quality area as Netflix original content. In my opinion, in terms of streaming services, Netflix and HBO Go have some of the best high quality content, original content that I can think of. And keep in mind that HBO, you can't even really count it because it's always been like a TV channel add-on anyways. So it doesn't go along in terms of similarities, in my opinion, as with like Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime Video. But I think HBO Go is beginning to try to establish itself as well, just like also Apple TV is doing right now. So that's a more obvious aspect that Amazon could put some money into and invest into to, for example, have more original content. But that's just a few of my examples where Amazon can keep on scaling their businesses even more, putting in more high quality features in their business. Like I said, you have, if it's $25 or more, it's 2-day shipping with Amazon Prime, or you can buy the Prime shipping services, and you can also get half off if you're a student. So there's a lot of small improvements that Amazon has made over time that I think they're going to continue doing, even into larger moves, like I said, with entering the electric vehicle market or the full self-driving vehicle market. So I still think that Amazon has a ton of room to grow in the future in terms of just what they plan to do with the company and enter it into different business sectors. So I think there's still a lot of opportunity with this stock. Now, keep in mind, like I said before, there is still the potential problem of an investor buying right now when it's at like near its all-time high. And there is the possibility, I mean, that's just something that we have to accept, that you could buy near this point and then have to wait another 2 years. It could drop immediately after someone purchases it right now. And there is that possibility of just a plateau for a while. So that's one thing I think people do have to be a little bit careful, as Amazon has priced in a lot of value just because it has been advantaged in the Rona. But with that being said, I want to explain why this stock skyrocketed so much just in the past week. It's up 3.15%, mainly in one day, like 3.5% of that was just on Friday. So I want to go ahead and talk about the recent earnings report for Q2 for Amazon. They absolutely had stellar earnings. In my opinion, it was a 10 out of 10. It's about as good as you can get in terms of an earnings release and totally dominating what the expectations were. We can go ahead and check out this chart right here. Just take a look at that. There's been a few times where Amazon hasn't beat expectations or times where they've came very close, but look at Q2 in comparison to all of these other quarters. When expectations were very low for Amazon, it just totally exceeded them by more than anything anyone could have ever imagined. So this is really impressive. I mean, when you look at stocks like this, even like Microsoft, I don't think I've ever seen such a distance between the expected earnings per share and the actual earnings. So with that being said, let's go ahead and check out this recent CNBC article talking about this earnings release and breaking down a few numbers for us. This article was recently released by CNBC on July 30th, and the author is Annie Palmer. So as always, thank you to the author and CNBC for the valuable information. If it wasn't for these people, then we wouldn't be able to keep up with the stock market as easily as we were able to. But the article title states, Amazon sales soar as pandemic fuels online shopping. And then if we get into the key points, it mentions Amazon reported its second quarter results after the closing bell on Thursday, trouncing earnings expectations and reporting double-digit revenue growth year over year. Amazon continues to work on getting its fulfillment operations back on track after it was hit with a flurry of online orders at the height of the pandemic, and the company confirmed this year's Prime Day shopping event will take place in the fourth quarter. So I believe this is a little different from last year. It was either last year or the year before. I think it was like either June or July that there was a Prime Day. It's basically a Black Friday for Amazon Prime, but a lot of the times the deals aren't too impressive, I have to be honest. But as it mentions right here, it states Amazon reported blowout second quarter results on Thursday, including a huge beat on the top line and double-digit revenue growth year over year, helped by surging sales amid the Rona pandemic, and the stock climbed about 5.3% in the after hours. And it states for earnings, the expected earnings per share according to analysts was $1.46, yet Amazon pretty much 10 times that number at $10.30 per share, and the expected revenue was supposed to be $81.56 billion, whereas they actually received $88.91 billion in revenue. And then it also mentions right here, Amazon, like many of the other retailers, were caught off guard by an influx of online orders during the Rona situation, which resulted in logistic bottlenecks and supply chain shortages, and the company's 1- and 2-day delivery services were hampered with delays, marking a rare disruption in its normally speeding shipping operations. And yes, that's something that I have noticed with Amazon. When I do buy products, I usually do it on Amazon with Amazon Prime from time to time. So that was kind of a disappointment recently with the whole 2-day shipping not actually being 2-day shipping anymore. But that's probably going to be more of like a temporary thing, and I completely understand it with so many people buying more products online given this whole situation. But as it says right here, Amazon said online grocery sales tripled year over year in the second quarter, and it increased grocery delivery capacity by more than 160%. And according to a statement by Jeff Bezos, he says, "This was another highly unusual quarter, and I couldn't be more proud of and grateful to our employees around the globe." So this right here kind of emphasizes and touches on the grocery aspect, the grocery sales of Amazon. And that's something that I didn't even touch on when we were over at Robinhood talking about the stock. But that's another huge positive aspect of this company as well. Not only are they focused on e-commerce, but grocery delivery as well. As they get more efficient in that and more optimized, and people start transitioning to buying groceries online, then I think that's going to become bigger as well. I think once society starts transitioning to knowing when they need to buy groceries ahead of time, and when they start transitioning to online delivery for groceries, then I think that's going to be huge. However, I still think there's always going to be that one aspect of just people needing to get something when they want it, so they're going to go to the grocery store regardless, instead of waiting 2 days after an order to get it from Amazon. So I always think there's going to be grocery stores like Walmart and your local grocery stores as well, but I think that Amazon may start taking a larger bite into that market as well in the future. So that's definitely interesting. Just to hear about the grocery sales tripling year over year, that's definitely huge. And then we can also take a look at Amazon's recent results. So here's the Q2 revenue, and we can compare it to recent years. This does look to be the highest year of all time in terms of revenue. It looks to slightly beat that 2019 number. But as you can see with net income, totally dominated. Yeah, we had a little bit of a downturn right here, but as you can see with this most recent quarter, it absolutely surged. And then also right here, just a few more numbers. It mentions that Amazon's other category, which is primarily made up of its advertising business, generated $4.22 billion in revenue, up 41% year over year. And then subscription services, which includes revenue from Prime memberships, were up 29% year over year to $6.02 billion. And third-party sales grew 52% year over year during the quarter, outpacing growth in Amazon's first-party sales, which increased 48% year over year. So that's another huge aspect as well. As I always like to mention, with the digital content, and of course, when it comes to other companies as well, like Adobe with programs, there's a big gross margin on profits when it comes to digital content, because once you pay that initial cost that is required for a lot of that digital content, then a lot of the revenue after that is pretty much pure profit. So there's a huge benefit to digital content, and especially you have Amazon AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, that's their cloud services, and then also there's been a huge influx of third-party sellers as well. And with my whole opinion, when you have third-party sellers, that just gives people more options if they're willing to buy from other people instead of just directly Amazon. So anyways, this is looking fantastic for Amazon stock. I've spoken a lot already, so I'll go ahead and end this video here. But as always, if you do enjoy these videos, please make sure to smash that like button. It really does help me out. And also, feel free to sign up to Robinhood and Webull in the description below with my referral link. If you sign up to those brokerages with my referral link, you can get some free stocks. But I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week.